Math 102, example 2.4.1, version B, simplifying square roots of negative numbers. The imaginary number I. We define I as the square root of -1 and I squared as -1. So if you have the square root of a negative number, we rewrite it as the square root of that positive number times I. You can put the I in front or in back, but it should not be underneath the radical. So if I have the square root of -49, I can rewrite that as the square root of +49 times I, and then the square root of 49 is 7, so my answer is 7i. If I have the square root of -7, I rewrite that as the square root of +7 times I. I can't simplify the square root of 7, so that is my answer. Now again, if you'd rather rewrite that with the I first, that's perfectly okay. They are the same thing. Now, if I've got a negative out in front, unfortunately there's not anything I can do about that. That just means my answer is a negative. So I would rewrite this as negative square root of +48 times I. The negative on the inside does still go away. Now, 48 is not a perfect square, but there are perfect squares that multiply up to 48. 48 is 16 times 3. So let's rewrite that as 16 times 3. And the square root of 16 is 4. So I get -4 root 3 times I. Again, you can also rewrite that as -4i root 3. So that means we might have a radical in our answer and an I. That will happen sometimes. And it's also negative. Let's look at multiplying the square roots of negatives. The most important thing is to first rewrite without that negative. So root -11 times root -11, I first rewrite as root 11i times root 11i. A square root times itself is the inside. So root 11 times root 11 is 11, and I times I is I squared. However, I can simplify that. I squared is -1, so my answer is -11. Let's scroll down to another multiplication. 8 times square root of -2. So let's rewrite that as root 8 times root 2 times I. 8 times 2 is 16, and the square root of 16 is 4. So I get 4i for my answer. For division, once again, let's first rewrite. So I get the square root of +27 times I over root 3. Now, we don't like to have a square root in the denominator of our final answer. There's a number of different ways you can rewrite to simplify. What I'm going to do is write it as one big fraction, all underneath the radical, and I do still have the I on the outside. The reason I'm doing that, 27 divided by 3, that's 9, and then the square root of 9 is 3. So I chose that simplifying method just because looking at the numbers, that turned out to be an easy way to work the problem. Let's scroll down and do one more. Square root of -216 over square root of -6. So once again, let's rewrite with positive square roots and i's. I over I does reduce, so we can cross them out. And then let's solve this like I did the previous. So let's rewrite that as one big fraction. 216 divided by 6 is 36, and the square root of 36 is 6. I crossed out the i's earlier, so my answer is just 6.